I hear the chatter.
Yeah, do you?
I do, but it's not bad. It's not bad. It adds a certain ambiance. It makes it real to hear a little chatter in the background.
Yeah, okay, because I have closed the door, but maybe it goes through.
It's people getting excited because they got their first pull-up. Are you at the gym?
Yeah, I'm at the gym.
Emma, do you know Brian up here?
A little bit, but I never met him in real life.
Okay.
I've met David a couple times.
Yeah.
We know who you are. We've made it our favorite pastime to watch the CrossFit Games and to watch the athletes and to judge the shit out of them. That's what we do, and we sit on our high horses and critique and talk shit and decide who's going to win and who's not going to win and who has the best outfit, etc. And man, you've skyrocketed into the limelight. So congratulations. That's a good thing, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
It is. When I was, I dug through your Instagram, and I just kept having this one thought over and over. I used to live in Santa Barbara, California. Do you know where that is?
Yeah, roughly.
Okay, it's between San Francisco and Los Angeles on the coast of the North American continent. Very perfect weather there. It's just a beach community. For 10 years, every day I went to the beach basically, and before I would feel comfortable taking my shirt off, I had to have a beer or 3 or sometimes 4, depending on how I felt. And as I'm going through your Instagram, I noticed that it looks like, and correct me if I'm wrong, your career, somewhere in your fitness, physique, moving heavy objects career, you used to get on stage, right? And you would be wearing a tiny little bathing suit, and you would it's basically the beach but in a public setting, and people, I don't know how bodybuilding works, but then people would critique your physique and you would put yourself in this situation, right?
Yeah, they don't just like critique your physique, like it's everything, like how you look, what makeup you wear, and everything.
So everything about you, yeah, okay. Like, so how many beers do you need to do that? How many beers do you need to get on stage and tell? Because like I didn't even want, like, at the beach everyone's critiquing your physique too, but they're kind of pretending not to. But here, you're going up there. So how many beers is that?
Well, it was 0 beers, but you actually had a bit of liquor before you went up, just to like dry you out even more.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And how see, Brian? I know Brian, when I was bringing this up, thought I was absurd. He goes, "Here's Sevan saying some absurd shit again." Now look I've nailed something.
You have, but mostly I was thinking there's probably just a difference between her body and your body.
There's a significant difference. So mine was for my mental game, and yours was to actually enhance your physique. Does that really? How? What liquor would you drink, and how soon before, and how much?
Oh, this is 6 years ago, so my memory is a bit vague. But I think it was Baileys, and it was not a lot. Like I've ate so little that week, so I didn't need a lot.
Would you ever drink so much that you felt and because I guess you were dehydrated and you hadn't eaten in a while, would you ever drink so much like you take one shot and you're like, oh shit, I'm buzzed? Nah,
I don't think it even was a shot. Like it was so little, and I only did 2 competitions, so I didn't do it for a very long time.
Was your first one terrifying?
Yeah, a little bit. And I also never really enjoyed to compete and go on the stage at all. Like I enjoyed the journey and the challenge, but not the actual competing part.
It's basically you putting in a ton of hard work and then showing your hard work, right? It's like doing a painting and then hanging it up in a coffee shop.
Yeah, basically.
You're sculpting your own body, and you're like, and do you sculpt, when you do that, do you sculpt it based on what you like, or based on what on some sort of manifesto of what the body should look like? Or are you like, man, I really want to, I love my lats, and so I'm going to just do tons of pull-ups, and I'm going to go up there on stage and show off my lats? Or is it basically on some manifesto? Like, hey, these are the criteria they're going to be judging me on.
Yeah, it's more like the later part, like what they judge you on. And so there are like so many different classes you can compete in. And then you just have to look at what you have to look like to compete in that class, and then try to look like that.
And how old were you when you started that?
22.
Okay, so young. And then basically as I got older, now that I have kids, any insecurities I have about taking off my shirt, I have to push them away, because I don't want my kids ever to see my insecurities, right? Because I don't want to share them with them. Not that I'm embarrassed or shy about them, but now it's like I realize that confidence comes from in here, right? Like if you're a fat peacock but you're still a peacock, then it's okay. You can still strut your shit and people be like, "Damn, that's a peacock." So, do you know what a peacock is?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if that was one of those words that translated so well. And what's the first language you spoke?
Swedish.
And then what's the second language you spoke?
English.
And how old were you when you learned that?
We start quite young. Maybe 10 years old. Like you start to learn, and then you probably study it in school for another 7 years, 7-8 years.
And when I was at the beach, I played a lot of frisbee. So I would go down there at 10 in the morning, and I would play frisbee till 6 at night. And once I would start running around and throwing the frisbee, and I was really good at it, I could make the frisbee do all sorts of crazy tricks. I didn't care what my body looked like anymore, because any insecurities I would have, I'd be like, hey, there's no one here at the beach who can throw the frisbee harder than mine. I'm getting a pump, and like now this is really the show, me playing frisbee. And I bring this up to you because it must be something like that for you, as opposed to staying still on the stage and letting people judge your body. Now it's like you must feel just free and incredible to go out onto the field, like somewhere at a CrossFit event, and be like, yo, this thing, look what this thing can do. Like, I mean, is it like substantially more fulfilling?
Yeah, definitely. But before I did fitness, I spent 12 years competing in swimming. So the fitness was more just like of a side track, I would say. Like swimming was what I did for the longest time. And then when I decided to stop swimming, I still wanted to train. I still wanted to have a goal. And because I've always had so easily to put on muscles, that was my first choice. And then I didn't really enjoy it. And then I found CrossFit, which I enjoyed a lot more. So, yeah, it's a big difference.
It's such a and I don't mean to take a dig at bodybuilding or physique, like to each his own. I by no means am I putting it down, but it's such a difference to showcase the moving body as opposed to the still body. And I think as the you don't even have to worry about your body when you're doing CrossFit, right? Like it's a mental game. You've done all the preparation for the body. You don't need to worry about it anymore, right?
No, like the body is like just a machine, and your brain is in charge.
So tell me, how did you find CrossFit?
I actually found it in the Netherlands. I lived in the Netherlands for 2 years, worked at IKEA, and I just found the box there and started to do CrossFit.
And how did you find it? Did one of your coworkers work out there?
It was actually one of my swim coaches that told me for 2 years, like, oh, you should try CrossFit. I think you do well. I think you really like it. And I was away traveling in Australia for a year, so then I didn't do it for that year. And then after that, yeah, I decided to look into it because he was like really eager. He continued to like sending me message like, oh yeah, you should really try CrossFit. So, yeah.
Were you intimidated going into the box? Was there any fear?
Yeah, a little bit. I went there first, and I was just outside looking in, and then I went.
You're like,
back.
where's the pool? You're like, where's the pool? You're looking in the window. I don't see a pool in here.
Yeah, and I didn't dare to go in, so I went back home again, and then I went back the next day.
That's great that you said that, because I think a lot of people who are deconditioned have that same experience with CrossFit, but someone who's already an athlete coming there and still having that mindset, that's kind of cool to hear.
Yeah.
I've heard that story many times. Gym owners were telling me they'll schedule an appointment, and then it'll be a few minutes past the appointment and the client won't be there, and they'll look out the window and they'll see the client sitting in the car. It's like the same story. It's like you were saying, Brian. And they'll walk out to the car and they'll be like, yo, what are you doing? Come in. Come on. So you walk in there and you went by yourself?
Yeah.
And you didn't know anyone in the gym?
No.
And so tell me about that. So you walk in and do you do a workout that first day you're there?
I can't remember if it was the first day or if I like went back the other day to just try a class. But yeah, I did try a class and I absolutely loved it. And yeah.
Do you remember the first workout you did?
No, not exactly. It was a lot of lunges, a lot of I think front rack lunges, but I don't remember exactly what it was.
And were you sore?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I was a bit sore.
You said you swam for 12 years. Who got you into swimming?
I think it was myself. Like I enjoyed being in the water a lot when I was a kid. So it's no one in my family swims. So I think it was just myself.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, Finland has a big swimming culture. Does Sweden have a big swimming culture as well?
Yeah, I would say so. It's yeah.
I'm just trying to think if any of the other like Swedish athletes have really stood out. Like, for example, Jonna Koski is like such a good swimmer, and I think Amelia is a pretty good swimmer too. And I know you've done really well in swimming events, but I can't remember if the other Swedish athletes like Camilla or anyone has shined in the water like that.
And sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
When you swim for 12 years, did you have a goal? Was it like to get a collegiate scholarship? Was it to go to the Olympics? Did you have a goal?
Yeah. So in swimming, you basically have like times. So to qualify for a competition, you need to swim on a certain time. So the goal, it was really easy to have a goal because like if I swim at this time, like then I qualified. And the goal was to go to college, but I actually stopped swimming before that. So the highest level as a swimmer was like the Swedish championships.
Just out of curiosity, I used to swim as well. Was there a certain stroke or event that was your favorite or best?
200 butterfly.
That would make sense for the strong lats.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. And why did you quit? Was it abrupt? Was it like I'm done, or was it just some life? There was a smooth transition into something else.
So I had a shoulder injury, and it had been bothering me for 3 years. And it went better, but it just never went away. And I really, really enjoyed the training, and I enjoyed competing a bit less than I enjoyed the training. So I started with just like, I'm gonna take like a break from competing and I'm just gonna train because that's what I enjoy the most. But then it's like the shoulder injury got more of a problem because the motivation for competition disappeared. So then the motivation for training actually decreased as well. And then I decided to quit. I still swam a bit, but before I decided to quit, it was like 5 to 6 hours of swimming a day, and then it went down to maybe just like 1 or 2 hours 3 days a week.
Is the butterfly stroke known? Do you know what stroke hurt your shoulder? Was it a particular stroke, and is that stroke known to put a lot of stress on the shoulder?
I think it was just, I think it wasn't butterfly in general, it was just the volume. I also went from, so here in Sweden, like you go in school until you're 16 years old, and then you choose to continue for another 3 years, and then you can choose like what subject you want to study. So when I was 16 years old, I moved away from home to go to a swim school where I could basically swim as one of my subjects. So I went from not so much training to almost the double in time per week, from like one day to another. And after 1 year of that, like then is when the shoulder started to complain. So I think I just made a mistake in training to just like put too much volume directly. Yeah.
So at 16 years old in Sweden, if you wanted to, you could be done with school and just move right into the workforce?
Yeah, you could. It's not so common. I would say that probably 95% does another 3 years. And then after that, you can go to university.
Okay, gotcha. There's a theme here now between the two. So when you were doing the bodybuilding, you really enjoyed the training, but the stage wasn't like your favorite. And then in swimming, you really enjoyed the training, and but the competition wasn't your thing so much. Are we? It seems like it's not like that in CrossFit, but I could be wrong. In CrossFit, do you like the competition?
I would say I've learned to like it. Yeah.
Did that come with age? Is that because you got older and more mature, or what do you mean? How have you learned to like it?
I think with age, but also just with like working with myself, and find out more like why I like to do what I do, and like why I want to compete. Because I say that I like training more than competing. But when I take the competition away, like the motivation for training does still like decrease. So yeah, I think it's just like I've been working with myself and I got older.
It's funny because people, like, if we didn't have any listeners, we wouldn't do the podcast, right? And if there weren't any movie theaters, I guarantee you 99.99% of directors wouldn't make movies. Like, there's a part of it that you do for yourself, but like if you didn't have a place to showcase it, or if you didn't have anyone to listen, you might not do it, right? In the ideal world, you would say, no, I'm going to do whatever I do and I don't care about the outcome. But you talk about it very well. It's the motivation, and I think that whatever it takes to be motivated to be the best version of yourself is valid. Who's to say it's not? This year was obviously you were thrust into the spotlight for not only your performance, but the debacle that happened around you having to go through the last chance qualifier. Is that all behind you now? And we'll go back and talk about that a little bit, but is that like when you made it, Brian and I got on the phone, I said, well, you kind of reminded I when I pictured you in your head, I pictured, do you know who Tupac is, the rapper?
Yeah.
There's a famous picture of him where he's flipping off the camera like this, and he's got and he's got the Thug Life tattoo, and I just pictured like you like this, like as soon as you got the results from the last chance qualifier, you were like this. like a remake of that Tupac photo. So let's go back to the beginning of the Open this year, and we'll kind of walk our way up to this. But before we do that, are you over it now? Like, will you go to the games with a clear head?
I will go to the games because I want to be there and compete with the best people in the sport, and I would say it's a clear head, but I still think that what happened wasn't good, and it wasn't very well handled, and that could be better. And with everything that then happened around it, like, it was our way to get feedback out, and it's like everyone can make mistakes, and like that's how it is. But if someone continues to make mistakes and they never get feedback, like, they will never change, right? So with everything that we did after was more because we want to see a change. We don't want it to happen again, like to anyone else or to me again. And I think that's still where I stand. I'm not happy with what happened after, because nothing has really happened. But if I go to the games, I will still go there, like, for me, and compete against the best in the world.
And sorry for people who don't know what happened, and we will get back to that. We'll fill some of the holes. But I guess my question is will you go there with a clear head? Like, is there any energy inside of you that is still dealing with that debacle, with those hiccups that got you here? Or will you will you use it as motivation, or is it just a fresh start? Will you go to the games? But I'm just wondering is, I would think you would want to go there with all of this behind you and just be present for this. Is it possible to do that, or was the journey so had so much drama that it scarred you, and you will bring it to the games? Does that make sense? Or will you go there with all of that behind you and just be like, here I am, and be able to not deal with that? Like, after this podcast, will this be the last time you ever talk about it? I don't not talk about it, but that's not fair. I don't mean to put that on you like that. My thoughts for you are that I would want you. It would be a shame if it was like hindering you in any way of performing at the games, I guess is what I'm saying.
And I do not think that it will. I don't think that I want or will put everything, like, behind me either, but it won't hinder me. Like, the only thing it would be is then motivation. And it's not that I will go there and have any enemy or anything. It's just I still haven't got an answer or an explanation for that it won't happen again. Right. And I think until I get that, it will still be with me. Right. But it won't hinder me.
I guess it's kind of like if you were in a relationship with someone and then you found out they were cheating on you, and then, like, that relationship's over and you go into the next relationship, like, how much will that burden you in the next relationship? Will you never be able to trust someone again? You know what I mean? So I guess I'm just drawing a parallel. There's nothing for you to say that, but I'm just trying to, like, draw an analogy to what it's like moving forward. So let's go back to the beginning of this year. So tell me about the Open this year, and then we'll work our way up to your extra workout you had to do, because I have a lot of questions about the Last Chance Qualifier. So did you know that you were going to do the Open this year? That was the plan all along?
Yeah, that was the plan all along, definitely.
And how did you do in the Open?
For myself, I did not do well. So the plan was to do the Open the whole time, but the training leading up to the Open was a bit too hard. Like, both me and David, my boyfriend, we increased the volume a bit and the intensity. And we just both ended up being a bit overtrained. We both got a lot of knee pain just before the Open, which then we ended up not being able to squat. I wasn't able to squat until just before semi-final. Obviously, I did squat during quarterfinals, but nothing in between, and I had to pay for it after. And it was also before every open workout. I was just so mentally overtrained that like I had a mental breakdown, and I started to cry because I didn't want to push. So I was not in a good place during the open or during the quarterfinals. But we handled it and we took down the volume, and by semifinals it was better. So I had a very tough start to the season, but I decided to stick with it. David was also going to do the open, but his knee, I think, and his elbow and hamstring got injured, so he couldn't even do the workouts.
That should be a kid's song. Knee, elbow, hamstring.
Yeah.
I have 3 little boys. Knee, elbow, hamstring. It's a trip to me that both of you had a knee problem. Do you think that is indicative of the training you were doing, or that was just coincidence?
Nah, it was the training. It was both. The volume of running and squatting was very high, and it's something that we both wanted to get better at, but we just did it way too much for what our bodies could handle.
Are you guys competitive with each other? You and David?
Yes.
So it's interesting. That's another interesting thing, right? Because I'll hear top athletes say, yeah, you can't train with another top athlete every day because you guys will just run each other into the ground. That you'll just go 100% every day. Every day will be a competition. Is there a little bit of that going on between Emma and David?
I would say both yes and no, because we are competitive with each other, but it's still male-female, which makes it, I think that makes it a bit easier, because you can compare, but it's some things you can't compare. But definitely, every workout and stuff we did together, you pushed a little harder, because you know what you're good at, and I know what he's good at, so.
Brian, do you want to say something about her open? Would you, by looking at her numbers, do you see anything that makes you go, oh, that explains that? She must have been crying between pull-up 7 and pull-up 8.
Well, the open was a little different this year. There wasn't actually a ton of squatting in it. They had some thrusters in 21.3, but other than that, I don't think there was any squatting really required. So she might have got off the hook a little bit there. But what I was curious about is, last year David, he had made the games, and so I'm sure you were very supportive for him. And I know when he kind of announced that he wasn't going to go forward with the season this year due to injuries, he made a big effort to really be there for you and to try to be like, all right, this is kind of Emma's turn this year, and I'm going to be there. So I just was wondering kind of what his role was like, as he had to maybe back off his training and invest a little bit more in you as a coach and support system.
Yeah, definitely. Like, he started his off season and did stuff to make his body feel good again. But he was also there to support me a lot more than what he could have done if he would compete as well. Which obviously made it a lot easier for me, because if we both would have done all of these online competitions, I don't really know how we would have had to hire someone or something.
And it sounds like it's pretty good for you. Do you think it's been hard for him this year, or do you think that's a role that he's kind of enjoyed being able to do for you?
I think both. For the last chance qualifier, he was a bit sick of it and a bit sick of me. But he was there, and I would not have been able to do what I did without him. He has helped me a lot. And also during the semi-finals, when things didn't go as planned in the beginning, like, he was there and supported me, so I could still continue to do as good as possible. So obviously that has been very helpful for me, and I think that he has enjoyed it, but I also think that some part of him is missing out, because he is a competitive athlete, and if you don't compete then and you watch other people compete, I think you will always feel that you miss out a bit.
He's a bit of a giant, right, David? How tall is he? Or he looks like a giant when he stands next to you, at least.
Yeah. He's 180 9 centimeters.
Oh yeah, he's pretty tall. He's like 6'3", I think.
Okay, so I don't need to ask Google how many inches that is. 6'3". Yeah, okay. So do your parents follow what you're doing? Your mom and dad?
Yes, they do.
And when did you explain to them? It was the semifinal workout, correct? Where we had where all the notoriety and discussion, where the whole CrossFit Games world started focusing on Emma Tall. Although you have a pretty large following even without this debacle. Did you explain it to them what happened to your mom and dad?
Yes, yeah, I did.
Could you explain it to us like you explained it to them?
Oh, I don't even remember half of it. You know,
fake it. Fake it. For the sake of the show, fake it. We'll put a little asterisk by
it. Actually, my mum is very up to date. She's following everything, so she basically knows what has happened before I got to tell her.
Wow, that's awesome. That's cool.
Yeah.
I think that before she says that, like, we should kind of just set the stage in case anyone doesn't recognize. Like, the women in Europe are extremely good, and the top echelon of women there it's difficult to break into that group. And but they're all getting a little older, and so the girls that are 5 to 10 years younger, which in this case I mean 22 to 30 years old range in Europe, I think they're all starting to feel like we really have a chance now. Like, we've been doing it long enough also, and these girls are just they're getting older. That's how it is. That we can start to make an inroads here to be relevant as top competitors in Europe. But they only get 10 spots at the games, 5 and 5. And if you look at the field, the girls that are 6th through 10th in Europe, they're not, like, there's a small margin for separation between those top spots. So everything is going to matter in this online competition. So I'm pretty sure that Emma and David and every other pair of athlete and coach or team that's looking at the semifinals is reading through the rules very closely and deciding this is what we can do in each workout to maximize our performance. Is that fair, Emma?
Yeah, definitely. That's how it was.
Brian, who are some of these? Are all the top 10? So you're saying only 5 can go, but you're saying the top 10 are all game level athletes?
If they're knocking on the door. So there's for example, in the competition that Emma was in, because it was split into 2, you have girls like Kristen Holton, Katrin David-Jutter, and Sam Briggs, very well established in the sport. But then you have girls like Emma and like Amelia Lepinen and Jacqueline Dahlstrom and Matilda Garns, and we could say there's actually several other Swedish girls as well that are just right there. They're very good. They've been competing in off-season competitions, and they're looking for every edge they can to get that chance at the games.
And like we were saying yesterday when we were talking to Carolyn Prevost, the women's competition, not only does Europe have some of the biggest savages in the sport, but the women's competition could very easily be argued as being more difficult than the men's. That it is where all the heavy hitters are starting to pile up.
I mean, there's a lot of depth on both sides, but if you think that the men's competition is more difficult than the women's, it's at least equal.
Okay. All right. So and Brian, what was this workout? Can you tell me the rep scheme and what it was, the semifinal workout?
Well, the last workout was Gretel, and it's 10 rounds of 3 clean and jerks and 3 bar facing burpees. So it's pretty straightforward. The weight's not too heavy. So you knew that.
Is Gretel a Swedish name? Do you know any Gretels? That sounds like some European name. Like, I don't know a Gretel. You don't know? That's not a Gretel. No, you don't know any Gretels either. Doesn't that sound like a Swedish name or something?
Yeah,
not that I have any idea, but like I've never met it. We know what are Hansel and Gretel? What are they? Those are the kids that got lost in the woods, right?
Yeah, but in Swedish that would be Hans och Greta.
Oh, so it is Gretel. I'm just saying it wrong.
It's a German name. Gretel's a German name.
Okay.
I'm from California. There's just Europe. There's no Sweden and Germany. It's just Europe. Okay, so is that true? Did Brian paint it well that you guys looked at the rules very closely and you're like, okay, these other workouts say that what was the distinction between them, Brian? You were telling me that 4 or 5 of the first 4 workouts said you can't do this, but it didn't mention it in the 6th workout.
Yeah, basically that you can't have anyone other than the athlete touch the equipment.
So did you look at that ahead of time and be like, okay, it's not in this one, that means you can do it? Like, did you think that? Were you that meticulous?
Like on the last day, yes, but it wasn't like I always read like everything that CrossFit sends you, like all the standards, and I went into even like Google and read the rule book and stuff. And because of what happened the first day with that, when I got a penalty, for the last day I climbed up the leaderboard and I was in 6th place, and that's all I know. So on the last day, obviously I did everything to push everything I could to get into that 5th place. So before I was going to do Gretel and the event 6, I read all the standards and I watched the video, and David did the same, as he was going to judge me. And we saw that it wasn't stated that no one can touch your equipment. So I went in and I read the rule book, and the rule book only said that the event organizer, which was the CrossFit, are the ones that are supposed to give you the standards and the movement standards and standards for every event. So we thought about it, and because it wasn't stated anywhere and I was in 6th place, we decided then we're going to do that this way. And because it was stated in other workouts, we even thought that, either they miss it out or they have taken it out by purpose, because everyone got different plates and different floor, so maybe that's why they're taking it out. And we decided to do it. Like, it was a decision before we started. Of course, it's not like David started to do it in the workout without me approving it.
So one, it's a very strong point that it was omitted in this workout, but not omitted in the other workouts. That's a very strong point. And then also you mentioned that it was because you were in 6th place. Like, you knew that you knew that you needed to do everything to your ability to make sure you stayed in the bubble.
Yes.
And Sevan, I don't know if you lost there in the middle, but she had also received a penalty on workout 2 from day 1 of that competition. So she was already aware of the fact that they were, very closely scrutinizing the videos and assessing penalties. So I don't think that someone who already received the penalty would be trying to do something to induce another penalty. She was trying to avoid that.
She knew it was real. Don't speed down this street; they'll give you a ticket.
She'd already gotten 1 ticket. She wasn't trying to get a second ticket, but she also knew that she was outside of the bubble and that this was going to be a tight workout where seconds and tenths of seconds could be the difference between moving up that one spot and not.
How close were those 5th and 6th place points going into the final workout? Do you see? Sorry, I know that's a little. Do you remember how close they were, Emma?
No, I don't.
Okay, but you knew close enough that you were in control of your own destiny. Basically, if you killed it, you go.
Yeah.
So you do the workout, and the piece of contention is that on the
we should. This is my understanding, Emma, and please help me if I'm wrong here. Is that she done the workout with plenty of time left in the window to submit the videos, and she submitted her video, and that she actually heard back from CrossFit. We got your video, and it's good, and you still had time to potentially do the workout again if they had said otherwise, correct?
Yes. So I actually did event 6 before event 5, as you could do. So I did the Gretel before the rope climb event. And even though I read all the standards and the rule book and everything, obviously I also wanted to send the video in fast to get it approved or not approved if that would have been a problem. Because even though we read everything, like we're not stupid. So I sent it in hours before the deadline, and then I was sitting and waiting to do the workout again if it would be a problem with the video. But then they approved the score on my video 1.5 hours before the deadline to send in your score.
Just out of curiosity, I want to go back and ask what was the contentious movement for people who are leaving but listening. But did they approve your 6th workout before your 5th because you sent the video for your 6th in first?
Yes.
Okay, that's cool. So what was the movement that was in contention? Where was the dispute?
why I got a penalty in the workout.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was because my judge touched my barbell.
And what was the movement? Sorry, because some people might not know who are listening.
So it was a clean and jerk, and I dropped the barbell, and then my judge kept the barbell to the floor.
And your judge was David?
Yes, my judge was David.
He's a good dude. Dude. Does he yell at you during the workout at all? What's he do to motivate you? Does he yell, or does he whisper, or does he tell you you're going to have to sleep outside? Like, what is the...
Nah, I think there is more yelling than whispering.
More yelling? Okay, good. So as the... And basically, it's not like the bar's flying all over the place. He's just settling it down so that you can quickly jump over it.
Yes.
Okay. And do you think that really made a significant impact on the workout?
I don't think it made 20 seconds of a difference, but maybe it made some difference. Like, we still decided to do it if that would have made 1 second difference, like that's what we felt that we needed. Or I think it was also, I didn't want to sit after and watch other people do this while I didn't do it, and then they would qualify because they did it and because I didn't. If that is a 1 or 2 second difference, that could be if you qualify or not.
Is that your penalty, 20 seconds?
Yes.
By the way, your honesty around all the details is
refreshing.
Yeah, it's more than noteworthy. Like, you actually, what you said before this, you're like, hey, the best outcome of this could be that this doesn't happen again to anyone else or myself. And the only way that can happen is when there's transparency, and God knows there's not a lot of transparency in the world right now. So thank you.
And with Sevan, she wasn't the only one who did this little strategy, and she wasn't the only one who got...
Brian loves you, by the way, Emma. Brian loves you.
And I love Brian too.
Yeah.
And she wasn't.
Go ahead.
She wasn't the only one who got a penalty for it. There was a total of 6 athletes who were penalized for that, but 2 of them were penalized on what CrossFit calls the preliminary review, and 4 of them were penalized on what they call the secondary review process.
And what process was Emma penalized in? The third.
Well, it feels like...
and I wonder do we know if they penalized those guys before or after her?
We do.
And is it the same judge critiquing all the videos? How does that work?
We do know when each of those 6 athletes were penalized, and with regards to the second or third thing. So it sounds like someone saw her video before the submission deadline was due and responded to her and said, "Scores approved, good to go." So she chose not to redo it at that point. Why would you redo it at that point? Then if some time passed, and Emma might have more of the details of exactly when, because the athletes basically receive this communication, and then as athletes release it to Instagram or wherever they post it, that's the only way that people like us can find out. CrossFit didn't make a big announcement about it. But basically they said, this is the leaderboard following the competition. And then they said, these athletes have made it to the CrossFit Games on their Instagram. These athletes have made it to the CrossFit Games on an article that they published. And then another day passed, and they said, oh, actually, one of those athletes didn't make it, and it was Emma.
Two questions before we get to that. Did those other athletes get penalized before Emma? It was my question. These other 5 or 6 athletes, did they get penalized before, or was it simultaneous? Or
2 of them were penalized before, and then Emma plus 3 others were penalized after the announcement of the games qualifiers was made during the secondary review.
I wonder if that's people tattletaling. I wonder if that's people... tattletaling's a little harsh. I wonder if that's people, outsiders, making sure the validity of the sport stays tight as opposed to tattletaling. And I wonder if there's different people at CrossFit HQ reviewing the videos, or if it was the same person that let some slide in and didn't let others. And I'm not suggesting that there would be a bias. I'm just suggesting human error. I don't think there is a bias over there. I've never seen one when I worked there. But obviously we know there can be human error.
Well, I think maybe Emma can give some insight into if she knows what the process was to initiate a secondary review. But this is what I know, is that there was a really big field of athletes competing that week. There were 3 different virtual competitions going on. There were 3 different divisions in each competition, the men, the women, and the teams. And so I think that they were using a majority of their resources in terms of online judges to to watch as many of the videos as possible in a timely manner. And what happens is, let's say that you're like the overseer of the judging protocol, and I'm just one of the guys who gets the first video. So I look at it, and if I see something, then I flag it. And if I don't flag it, then it just goes through. But if I do flag it, then I go up the chain. Maybe not even to you yet. Maybe there's someone between me and you, and then they'll look at it. And if they see something that's also flagged, then they'll send it to you, and you're kind of like the last voice and say, yeah, both of you guys are right. This is not something that was within our standards, so we're going to assess this penalty accordingly. And that's where I think some of the time delay might happen, why we don't see immediate results. So that's kind of what I know about that process.
I bet, Emma, I don't know if this makes you feel any better, but I used to work there, and whoever did do that to you, who let it slide through, I guarantee you they feel absolutely fucking horrible. Because every single person on the games team is a diehard games fan, and they take their job seriously, although I do think that I've always known... I don't know if I have any place to say this, but back in the day, there was always a shortage of hands, right? Especially during the games. It was all hands on deck. But anyway, I know it doesn't make it right or wrong, but I guarantee you that person feels horrible because they really do want to do what's right. So Emma, did you find out that the leaderboard switched places because someone called you or sent you a text and said, hey, this is going to change? Or did you just find out in real time with the rest of the world?
I found out in real time. I actually...
You kind of want to know your mom died first before you read about it in the paper. Damn. Okay.
Wednesday morning after the semifinals, I woke up and I was looking in my trash for an invite. But there I found at the secondary review, and the penalty for the workouts.
And it wasn't a personal email to you. It was like a generic email to the world, like it was some sort of games email. When you say the trash, you mean the trash in your email account?
Yeah, exactly. It was just like, during a secondary review, basically you got a penalty for event 6. Like your score is still on the leaderboard, but you got, I don't know if it was a major penalty or, yeah.
But was this directed, was this email like, Dear Emma, or was it an email that the whole world received? Like all the games athletes received saying, hey, we've changed some things on the leaderboard.
It was to me, but it was the same email you get like for any video review.
Okay.
It's the same, like when your video got accepted, you still the score on your video submission had got accepted.
Okay,
so
so
kind of email like that.
Okay, and then so as soon as you read that, do you quickly jump over to the leaderboard and be like, oh shit, and you look? Is that the order that it happened? You found this email and then you clicked over to the leaderboard, or did you see the leaderboard had changed first and then find the email?
I found the email first, and then I saw the leaderboard.
Oh man, well at least they reached out to you, and then so what was your first? So you must have been so excited that you qualified for the CrossFit Games, right? And then you see.
Yeah, it was. Just one thing with the penalty and stuff before we move over.
Please.
Yeah, so there were people getting penalty first, and then there were a secondary review. But there are still people on the leaderboard that has done the same thing and they haven't got a penalty. So it's just the inconsistency with that I'm also still.
How far down are those people?
I'm not sure exactly, but they wouldn't. I'm not sure if it would change like the game spots, but maybe it would change other stuff. Maybe it would have changed the last chance qualifiers.
Oh, so okay, that's huge. Because once again, I don't work there anymore. But when I worked there, if there were people in the thousands and thousands of places, there wasn't the manpower to review all of those videos, right? So basically, what would happen is people would either say, we basically relied on the public to tell us, right? If there's 3,000 video submissions, there's no way you can review them all. You would review the top 100, right? And then if anyone had any complaints about ones down below, like, hey, that wasn't Emma Tall doing the workout, that was Brian Friend wearing a wig, then we would go down and look. Hey, oh yeah, that's not Emma Tall. Brian's like doing the workout for her.
Yeah, of course. But like I don't know exactly. Was it 30 athletes in each semi-final, and then male and female? But we also, even if we did it online, we still paid as much as the people that got the chance to go to a live competition.
Right.
So
right.
it should. I understand if it's, but it should still be enough manpower to review all the videos correctly, because obviously it takes a lot more manpower to arrange a whole competition than an online event.
And Sevan, you asked about the potential of someone.
Emma should be a lawyer. This isn't her first rodeo. She's just beating me down. Go ahead, Brian.
You asked about like why did the secondary review happen, right? Did someone alert CrossFit and say, hey, have you guys watched this? Like, she's touching the bar, he's touching the bar, whatever. And when she brings up this concept of a live competition compared to a virtual competition, in virtual competitions, if you want to dispute your score, you can. And then there's several things that can happen from that, but you're not allowed to dispute any other athlete's score. You can't come to the say and say, I know she only did 8 muscle-ups and she had to do 10. You can't do that. So if that happened, I have no idea if that happened or not, but that would be another thing that would be an inconsistency from a live competition to a virtual competition. In fact, at most live competitions now, they'll say, if you dispute the score and we have to go to a video, we're not going to use any other video from your phone or anything else. We have a camera that's on the floor and we'll use that camera. So there's specific rules about that, disputing scores for live competition, that are pretty clear. And in the virtual setting, I don't know how clear it is compared to a live competition.
Okay, but if you're in the stands and someone's doing if you're in the stands and someone's doing muscle ups and they're not locking out, as a fan or anyone on the floor could yell, "Brian Friend isn't locking out," and the judge can hear that and look and be like, "Oh shit, he's not locking out," and you can and it could affect his scrutiny, right?
Sure, but we've talked to other athletes about this. In that competition setting, you have your communication with your judge and you're getting immediate feedback. So if they say no rep, you immediately know it's a no rep, and then you have to either ask them why or respond and correct it as it's happening. Where they're getting that information from to decide the no rep can vary, sure. But in the virtual setting, it's risky, like Emma said. You do these movements, and maybe she can talk about workout 2 also. I'm sure that when she did workout number 2, she felt like she was meeting all the standards. Her judge felt like she was meeting all the standards. She wouldn't try to short reps on that. She wants to have her score be validated, but you don't get that immediate feedback. And maybe it's just one of those things that we can't avoid with virtual competition, but I think that in terms of the review process, hopefully that secondary review wouldn't have been initiated by someone telling CrossFit you need to look at this, and instead it came from an internal process that they have.
The 2 points that are kind of and help me out here, Emma and Brian. The 2 points that are the most, I don't want to say egregious or contentious, but the 2 things that are really going on here is the fact that you did follow the rules and you did have time to do it again. You turned it in early, right? Just so I'm following the story. So you kind of have it buttoned up on both ends. Like, hey, I would have done it again, and I actually did follow the rules. Okay, so you get the and then of course then there's the secondary things where it's not consistent. Sorry, I don't mean to I want to be able to make sure I see the whole picture. And then the second thing is it wasn't consistent across the board for all the athletes. We still have some people out there who the bar was being held for. Okay, so then as soon as you see you're in 6th place, you just pick up your phone and you're like, "Yo, Dave, what's up, man? Can we talk about this?" And Dave's like,
"6th place." She dropped from 5th to 9th place.
And so then how did she make the last chance qualifier?
She was a tie for 8th place, and in that particular region there was one woman named Hema Rader who was supposed to compete in a different semifinal, but she couldn't travel there because of COVID restrictions, so she was placed in the competition. So therefore the women at that competition got 9. The 9th spot got into the last chance qualifier.
Holy shit, this is a great story. This needs to be a movie. Okay, so do you just call Dave up and you're like, "Hey, Dave, what's up? This is Emma. Can I come over to your house and talk about this?" And he's like, "Sure, come on over. I'll be outside shooting hoops." What happens next? Because that's what I would do. That's what I would do. He only lives 11 miles from me. I would just be like, "Yo, Dave, I'm coming over." You should have called me. I would have gone over there and talked to him for you.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I will call you next time then.
Yeah. So what's the next step? So you see this and then what?
I think I'm just in shock for a while. And then obviously like we tried to do something about it because we do not agree with the decision, and we do not think it has been like handled right. So we write an email with an appeal, and just like a lot of questions, because if they came to this conclusion, we at least want to have like a full explanation. Like, yeah. But they didn't accept the appeal, and we didn't really get any answer on any questions either. It was more like, you should have understood that your judge can't touch the barbell, and the penalty would stand.
I don't want to miss any part, so if I jump too far ahead, let me know. So then basically, at that point, are you like, okay, this is where we're at, and I'm going to do the last chance qualifier, and I'm going to get in? Or are you just like, fuck this, I'm done, let's go to the bar?
Yeah. More like,
I mean, they're both valid. Yeah. I mean, there's a part of you, right? I felt sorry for anyone who had to do the last chance qualifier. It's got to be like the hardest competition. It has the fewest workouts. It has everyone, the most hungry people in it, and only 2 of you get to go. I mean, it's horrible. It's
Yeah.
So how did you, was there a moment where you're like, okay, I'm not even going to do the last chance qualifier, I'm done?
Yeah, definitely. I decided the last day that I was going to do it. So for a long time I was not going to do it, and I was done with everything.
I was wondering about this. I told Sevan last week, I said, you know who the last person to sign up, or at least to show up on the leaderboard, was Emma Tall.
Holy shit. So what's it like at your house? Like, you wake up in the morning, you're eating with David, and you're like, fuck these guys, I'm not doing this. And is he agreeing with you? Or is he just stay quiet and he knows that this is just part of your process and that you're going to show up to the start line?
Nah, he agreed with me.
He did.
He was like, because he was so invested in me and my performance and everything as well, and obviously like he was in the video and he touched my barbell. It was my decision, so it's nothing, but obviously it's very difficult for him as well when like it turned out how it turned out. So he agreed with me, and he did like absolutely everything for me to stand up for what we believe in, and what we believe is right, and what we believe is wrong. I think like without him, I don't think that this would have gotten so much attention. And I'm very happy.
Yeah, because you didn't really post anything about it. It was mostly through his Instagram that you guys are putting out your feelings and sentiments.
Yes, and that was like all him. Like I said, I was shocked for a while, and then I was very sad for a while, and I didn't want to post anything, and I wanted to give people a chance to explain or communicate with me, and at least tell me what has happened, and that they are sorry for that this is the way it turned out. But I think I made my post a week after, and then I have heard nothing. So then I just felt like I need to get the feedback out from me and my view of what happened as well. Because if I'm just quiet, like, then maybe nothing is going to happen. But yeah, like you said, David was the one who got most of the story out. And yeah, I'm very happy to have him with me, because he really, like, he stands up for me, and he stands up for what he believes is the right thing and how athletes should be treated.
Just so everyone who's listening, and you guys tell me if I'm wrong here, but no one wants to deal with this. Like, Emma didn't want this to happen to her. No one's is excited to fight back. No one wants to push back on the machine. Everyone just wants to do the same thing. We all want to swim in the same direction together and get along and be happy. And like don't misconstrue anything I think that she's saying. Like, this isn't like fun. This is like you're driving down a road and part of the road is washed out, and now you have to go back 20 miles the other way and choose another road. No one wants to do this, right? I mean, this just sucks. And I appreciate you reliving it for us, so hopefully we can build our podcast. So let's move on. So David speaks up. You're okay with that, and you're not going to do the last chance qualifier. And have you started? Are you still training at this point, or are you just eating cookies and hanging out by the pool, or like what's going on with in those days? How many days between the notification and the last chance qualifier?
What was that? 2 weeks, was it?
I think it was.
Did you cry a lot?
Yeah, for 2 days straight.
Okay, makes sense. That's good. I just pictured you crying like once a day for like 15 minutes, but 2 days straight kind of just, that sounds like a CrossFitter. Just get it out of the way.
Yeah, it was not fun at all. It was mostly just also because, like, obviously I missed my games ticket, but it was also because, you know, going to the games is like the biggest thing you can do as a CrossFit athlete. It's the biggest competition, and that's, I want to say everyone's goals, but most people's goals to go there and to win. And it's taken away from you, and it was more the way it got taken away from me that just like it just questioned my whole goal. Like, am I supposed to spend my whole year training for this competition, and then I get treated like this? Like, then I just rather train and go to other competitions or do something else, because yeah, I think you want to know what you're getting yourself into. You want a level playing field.
But I think what she's saying there is actually the critical component. Is, you know, she mentioned a while ago that everyone makes mistakes. But what do you do when you make the mistake? Because Emma's not the only one who qualified through the games and was extremely happy about that. And when they got the announcement, you know, there was we've been featuring some rookie profiles on Morning Chalk Up. And for example, this guy from Denmark, Andre Houdet, he's had a bunch of hardships in his life and in his family life, and he qualified through the games just like Emma. He got this announcement, celebrated with his family, and if that had happened to him 2 days later, to have that taken away from him, his whole team would have been devastated by that, because all of them had been working with him, pushing towards that. And that's the case with every athlete. Obviously, the athlete has to excel, but there's a big support system, and it's just as important for them and rewarding for them to get that news. So to give that to someone and then take it away from them a day or two later, regardless of the reason, that's what bothers me.
Yeah, you get all those congratulations message, and then it just makes you feel a bit, I know it's not right, but it makes you feel a bit like a fool. You get all those, like, everyone says congratulations and everyone's so happy for you, and then it's just not the case anymore.
So before we talk about the last chance qualifier, do you think, is the thing here that you just wish that they would have said sorry or and given you an explanation, and you would have gotten a personal reach out and been able to talk to someone? Or do you think that they should have left the leaderboard the same and just added Sam Briggs? Like, do you have a solution that you think would be more just?
I think there are many more solutions that would be better than this one. Like, I feel this one is almost like the worst possible. The simplest solution would just be that they do reach out and they explain. They said, like, this is our mistake, but we are very, very sorry, and this is what went wrong, and we're gonna do this for it not to happen in the future. And the other might just be that they accept that they made the mistakes, they missed to put it in the standards, and they said congratulations to the GameSpot, and now they have to pay for it and just let me go anyway.
I think I think you've changed my opinion. I think I agree with you. I came into this thinking, hey, the most important thing is just to get the best person in, but and maybe letting you go in, it does both. It's the most fair thing, and it does get in the best person. Just out of curiosity, how many? What was the time difference between Emma and the person right below her in that workout?
In Gretel?
Yeah, in Gretel.
With her first score or second score?
What do you mean?
Well, she had originally done it in 12:50, which I think would have placed her tied for 6th, and then the penalty dropped her down to 19th.
And that was with a 20-second penalty?
Yeah. And so the difference in points there was
that
from
competition
80
is
points
so tight.
all the way down to 34 points.
Oh, yeah. I think you convinced me, Emma. I think you convinced me. I came into this not convinced. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Who cares? Like, just it's fine. It's just one person. It's funny when you look at someone in the eyes for an hour how your opinion can change, right? You're a real person who worked really hard, who has real feelings, who put in real work.
So what was the then the final decision? Like, okay, fine, I'm gonna do the last chance qualifier.
After a week off, I decided to go back to training again, just because I wanted to train. And the same weekend as the last chance qualifier, they have a big competition in the city next to where I live, and it's the owner of the box where I work and train that arranged that competition. And there were a lot of good athletes there, like some of the best athletes in Sweden, and it's a very good competition. It got very big events, like long and hard events. So I decided I'm either gonna do that competition or I'm gonna do the last chance qualifier. But I don't want to finish my season here. I'm not done yet, and I don't want to finish it like this. I'm not ready to go on off season just yet. Like, my body has just recovered from before, and I'm not injured anymore, so I don't want to stop now. So I started to train again, and on the Friday when this other competition started and when I had to register for the last chance qualifier, I decided I was going to do the last chance qualifier, because I felt if I do the other competition, I have a great weekend, I get to do in life competition, but I will regret to not do the last chance qualifier, because I don't know what would have happened if I did it.
Was that hard on your ego at all? Like, oh man, I want to do this because I want to go to the games, but if I don't make it, and God knows it's such a hard competition, we all know the last chance qualifier, that your ego was like, okay, I'll be exposed and everyone will say she didn't deserve to go. Did you have any of those head games going on?
Yeah, I had that a little bit. I felt like if I do the last chance qualifier, I have to win. And I told David that, and he said, "Nah, I don't think it's like that at all." Like, he said that I've already proven that I am good enough to go to the games, and the only reason I would do the last chance qualifier is for me to not question what I could have done.
I love
and
that.
You did it. Yeah, what he's saying is true, but the ego is like, nah, fuck you if I don't make it. I mean, it's kind of like you either... Yeah, I mean, the pressure on you must have been enormous. I can't imagine. It would have been so much easier to do this other competition and just kick everyone's ass. It would have been so much easier to quit. And then not only that, but the path you chose really exposes you. Because let's say something would have happened and then people would have started speculating, well, she didn't deserve to go anyway, which isn't true, but people like me would have been saying that, and Brian would have been telling me I'm wrong. People on their high horse like me would have been talking shit, and Brian would have been like, no. Well, so you do it and you make it. Were you just tickled? Like, how do you feel now? Are you going to be able to come? Can you leave Sweden and come to the United States? Like, is it all done? Are you going to be in Madison?
Well, I'm working on it.
Nothing is easy for you.
No. So,
tell me about that. Are there issues with coming?
I think CrossFit has done what they can, and I can't remember what they called it, but you could apply for something which makes it able for you to then apply for ESTA, which should make you able to travel to the States. But I think you don't really know until you're there. So either you just go with it and you hope that it works.
I can't remember. I think it was Sweden that I went to, and it was actually the easiest country I've ever entered to from the United States, because, and this was probably 5 or 10 years ago. I can't remember when. It was either Sweden or Switzerland. I can't remember. But when you fly into the airport, there was nothing. There was no customs. There was nothing. Like, as a U.S. citizen, we had some deal with that country. It definitely wasn't Finland, because I've been there a few times. But the relationships between Sweden and the United States are amazing, right? There's never been an issue before about flying back and forth?
No, I don't think so. No.
This is all related to just COVID response? Just people's fears? Okay. And so you don't know if you're coming 100% yet. Holy shit. What a journey. What a journey. And when you finished the Last Chance Qualifier, did you feel amazing about it? I know that you couldn't see anyone else's scores and you were just waiting for the leaderboard to pop up. And is it official yet? Or it's not even official until... It's not even official until tomorrow. It is official?
It's official. They gave themselves an out. So this is where what Emma was saying is that they hoped they would learn from this. So they said, even the next week when the second round of virtual competitions came out, they said, this is the leaderboard, but we're still going through a reviews process. And they did the same for Last Chance Qualifier. So they gave them until Saturday. They gave themselves until Saturday. But I think yesterday they sent you guys the official invitation.
Yeah.
And originally they said the scores wouldn't be official until the 10th, though. Is that correct?
Yes.
So do you believe it? Do you believe it? Yeah, go. Say it. Yeah.
On another note, they also learned with the standards. So they did change it for the Last Chance Qualifier. And they mentioned, like, on every workout that the judge, or maybe not the judge, but that, like, no one can help you with the equipment unless that's stated. So they have clearly taken the feedback without admitted that they done anything wrong. So...
I think that maybe we should call this the Emma Tall clause or something. Like, you should get some sort of historical note there. Like, hey, Emma Tall clause. Yeah, just so it's like you're forever etched in the history.
I'm not sure.
That'd be some honor, a little bit, maybe. Second best thing to winning the games. Okay, so but your intention, your intention is to come, and you would be heartbroken if something happened. I'm having trouble reading you here a little bit. You seem just like, yeah, if I go, I go. If I don't, I don't. But it's not like that. I'm misreading you, right? Like, you need to come to Madison, and you want to get back on your horse.
Honestly, I do have a bit of mixed feelings still. I'm happy that the Last Chance Qualifier went as well as it did, and I'm happy that I've got the ticket. But I'm still, like, I still think that what happened was wrong, and I still feel like I haven't got an explanation or a communication, or it hasn't had any consequences, and I feel like I still don't know if the feedback went true and that it won't happen again, which still make me have a bit of mixed feelings, because if I then go to the games and accept the invites and play their game, have I then accepted that what happened is okay? Because I feel like I don't accept it, and I don't think it's okay. But then I also really want to go, because I feel like I have had not so good season so far. It's been like a lot of obstacles, and I feel like I deserve to go there for me to do what I love.
Is there any additional feeling or an adjacent to that? Because you've been to the games before. You were there 2 years ago in the 2019 season, but it wasn't probably the games that most athletes want to experience, where you get to really test yourself for the whole weekend of the total competition against the entire field. So is there any piece of you that's like, yeah, I mean, it's not my first time, but I also kind of want to see what I can do in a full weekend of tests against the best girls?
Yeah, definitely. And that's the reason why I want to go still.
And does David help reassure you of that, same way as Last Chance Qualifier, of, we might not agree with everything they're saying, but this is something that you're doing for yourself just as much as anyone else, or maybe more so?
Yeah.
I think it would be healing for you to go.
Yeah?
I don't think it admits that you think that that you're playing their game at all. I think you would go there, you would show up, you would get a very warm response, and it would be part of the healing process. And you could, when you see Dave or whoever you want to, you could just walk up, put your arm around them, and be like, finally, you can take the highest road. You could, be like, Dave, selfie, bam, slap them on the ass and be like, I could beat you in any workout out here, right? And just, just let the crowd cheer for you. I mean, they know who you are. People want to see you come out there and compete. As much as you may not like the story, it's a fun story. It adds a lot of energy to the sport. You made it end the way it would end in a Hollywood movie. I mean, like you're doing it, and so I mean, I'm being biased. I just want to see you go out there and kick some ass, and I know the crowd's gonna cheer. They're gonna love it. People love this drama. This is what we live for. It would be fucking boring if we didn't have this shit. So, and there's not a lot of athletes who get that opportunity to walk the high road, right? There are these athletes that haven't won the games, but they shine in the public's eye. They have other attributes about them that make you want. I mean, I hate to just stroke my buddy, but like Josh Bridges, right? I mean, like what is like? There's these other people Sam Briggs is another one, right? Well, I guess Sam did win the games. Sorry, Brian. Careful. But there's these athletes that they kind of transcend the win or the loss, and you're doing that. You're walking. You had this opportunity. Someone threw you a really bad pass, and you jumped and caught it, which made you a great receiver, right? And without a bad pass, you can't be the star who jumps the highest and catches the ball. Oh, there's the hunk. I saw him walk behind you.
Oh,
There he is. There's the hunk. Every good CrossFit Games athlete needs a hunk. Yeah, I just, I always get in trouble for throwing in my 2 cents, but fuck it, it's my show. I'm throwing in my 2 cents. I'd love to see you go there and just be like, yeah, I did it. I think it would be great for you. It'd be great for the community. And it's so hard to get here. You should stay a couple extra weeks and drive around the country.
Yeah.
What do you think, Brian?
No, I completely agree. I think everyone would love to see her there. So obviously you haven't, figured that all out yet. That's in the process. But just kind of knowing you guys, I have a feeling that if you're able to come, you guys will come. And I think that mentally you can, start thinking about that. It's only a few weeks away. And you've seen the first workout. We've already found out some semblance of the first workout. And I'm assuming that that's exciting for you because there's not that many competitions that you go to where you get to do the thing that you've done your whole life, which is swim.
Yeah, that is very exciting.
But I think that you did compete in France one year. They had paddleboarding there that year as well. But they gave you the option. You could stand up, lay down, get on your knees. You could do anything you want in France.
Yeah.
And
correct.
What did you choose to do?
I was standing up.
Were most of the athletes standing up?
Yeah, I would say so. It was just a few that were sitting on their knees, but I think they were mostly just afraid to fall in the water. Yeah. But it was a good event, but it was quite like the 500-meter paddleboarding went very fast, and then it was a 9.5k run, so it was almost just running. But
well, do you win the swim event if you come to the games?
Well, you have to wait and see then.
I think my guess is you would prefer the swim. The longer the swim, the better, right? For you?
Yes, definitely.
Emma, whenever I hear things, people say when someone doesn't show up to a competition, they say, "Hey, why did they do that? They took someone else's spot." Do you have And once you earn the spot, I think that's a little bit of a harsh thing to say to someone. Hey, you earned it. You should be able to decide up until the last minute. But do you have any thoughts on that? The fact that maybe if you didn't go, that someone else could have gone, like they could have backfilled. Like who would be next? Like, is that part of your concern, or is it like, no, it's my spot. I earned it. I'll decide when I want to.
Yeah, maybe normally I would agree with you. I've heard that they won't backfill anything.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that's the truth, but that's what I've heard. And yeah, normally I would agree, and I think like if you got your spot and someone else could have it, if you choose to not go, like obviously you should say that as fast as possible. But I think I'm just in a bit of a different position right now, both with what happened, but also regarding travels. Like feel like I have to make sure that I can get there before I accept to go.
It makes perfect sense.
Can I ask you one other thing just about what happened during the semifinals, because I've been curious. Was there, there's a new thing within the past 12 or 15 months called the Athletes Association. Did they reach out to you guys and talk to you and say, hey, we're going to try to communicate with CrossFit and, on behalf of the athletes? Did you hear from any other athletes or people in that organization with regards to what happened?
So we saw that, I think it was Morning Shock Up talk to them. And they basically said that, we believe that Emma has a case here. But then we didn't hear anything. So David actually reached out to them and asked if they could do anything or bring it up so it won't happen again. So he wrote a long email describing the whole scenario. And I think they had a meeting with CrossFit 2 days ago, but we haven't heard anything back yet.
Because I think, that athlete committee exists now, and this is a great, in my opinion, this is a great opportunity for them to have some influence. And it happened to you, but like you have said, we don't want it to happen to anyone else, so they need to hopefully step up, not on just your behalf, but on behalf of all the athletes, and say, what are we going to do to make sure that this doesn't happen again? So it's great that process seems to be happening, and it might be a better off-season topic and conversation, because obviously there's a lot that CrossFit needs to do to prepare for the games, especially in a year where so much is unknown, who can come, who cannot come, whatever else. So that's good that's happening, I think.
Emma Tall, man, thanks for sharing the story. I'm a different, more compassionate, kinder human after talking to you and meeting you. Seriously.
Thank you.
Yeah, I Brian and I have argued back and forth about this a little bit over the last, as we watch your situation, and it's a good testament of what communication and looking at someone in the face and hearing what they say and hearing all the details, it makes a difference. Who would have thought, right?
I think there's another important component here is if we had talked to her a day or two after it happened, we probably wouldn't have gotten this version of Emma. And this is a good lesson for people in general. You got to let, sometimes time is needed to get a perspective on things, and it's pretty clear here that Emma and David and all the people around them have spent time with this, processed it emotionally, intellectually. They've done what they can do. And she's been super honest. It's still affecting her. It's still something that she's thinking about. But she can clearly now a couple weeks removed from it, can articulate it very clearly and tell the story in a way that's actually productive instead of just having that initial emotional response.
Yeah, you're crazy honest and transparent and convey the story perfectly. I didn't feel any charge from you. Just given it. It's good.
I feel like you have to be, if you want anything to change, you kind of have to be. And maybe one thing that I would have wished for, in a perfect world, would have been that more fellow competitors will also stand up for, this is not how we want to be treated, and this is not how we want the sports to be. But I also understand why they don't.
And why is that? Why don't they? Just because they're doing their own thing, or because they don't want to feel repercussions, or they don't want to get mixed in the drama, or they're saving their energy for the games, or what? Why? What part do you understand?
I think it's a mix of everything. Obviously, they doing their own thing, they want to focus on their competitions, but I also think that they don't want to be a part of the drama or have any of the consequences, if there would be consequences.
Yeah, I'm going to say something nasty here, and I think that whatever, for a lot of the athletes, and I apologize to you who aren't like this, they just want to be on the winning side. They might. It's not even the athletes; it's people in general. They don't care what's right or wrong. They just want to be on the winning side. So they don't want to take the risk to say what's right. They just want to be on the winning side. But that's my cynicism based on watching society's current trends. Thank you. I actually have a bunch of more questions for you, but we're running into an hour and 24 minutes, and it sounds like David's vacuuming in the background, or he's making the world's biggest smoothie. Do you hear that or something? No?
No, I don't hear it.
Oh. Maybe Brian's computer fan. Oh, yeah. Brian just muted his mic, and all that sound went away. Amazing.
I think it's a lawnmower service outside the buildings.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything you want to ask Brian? Any stats or statistics or numbers? You want to know what place you're going to finish in the games? He can tell you, so you don't even have to go if you want to know.
No, I think I'm good.
That's not true.